Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another interview here. My name is Gregoire, and I've got a little Iron Bowl special here. I'm interviewing Paul Finebaum, the Mouth of the South here today. Paul, how you doing today?
Brian, you're doing great. I appreciate your invitation.
Absolutely, I'm very excited to interview you. You're my first sports personality I've talked to. I've done business owners, I've done priests before, so this is a high stakes interview. This is the first thing like this I've ever done. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Let's go.
All right. So the passion of these fan bases down here, it's unmatched. Like you got here at Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Ole Miss. How do you frame your show to embrace and capture that intensity down here?
Well, the backstory of the show is this, that I spent the biggest majority of my career in Birmingham, so I got to know the Alabama-Auburn rivalry quite intensely. When we went to the SEC network, we broadened that, but the key to, in my mind, of any successful show is not get bogged down in trying to, put this, make sure every little thing is mentioned. Is you go with the moment, what matters, what people are talking about the most. And I think that's really what we've done. So one day it could be LSU beating Alabama, the next day it could be where Lane Kiffin is going. Next week, obviously, it's going to be Georgia and LSU. So you have to be cognizant of what people want to hear.
And how do you decide on a topic? Like, do you have a production meeting before the show to decide what you're going to talk about? Do you think about it over the weekend?
Well, when you do a show 5 days a week, it always evolves. We've got a crew, and you can't just wait till the day of the show. So you're lining up guests, like a program like I'm about to do. I mean, we're in Tuscaloosa. There's no mystery. You're doing everything related to this weekend. But for next Wednesday, you'll know you're 3 days away from the SEC championship. But you have to leave room in the show. What if this coach leaves, or what if that? So you just can't. I mean, there have been plenty of times when we thought we had a great show, and then something happens, and you got some really good guests, and you're going, can we get rid of this guy?
Yeah.
There's a much hotter story going.
Did you ever have to cut somebody off?
Oh, sure. I once had to tell, this was a long time ago, but I once had to uninvite the former Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, from our radio show because it had taken months to set up the interview. She was going to be in town, and the very day, was it 2 hours before she was supposed to be in our studio in Birmingham, this controversy erupted about 12 years ago with Cam Newton on whether he had been paid to go to Auburn. It took some great diplomacy to get the former Secretary of State off the show without her knowing. Don't tell her.
No. My mouth is zipped. Trust me. Did you have to call her? Now, how's it look like? Did you call her?
You find a way where you make it uncomfortable. You kind of let them make the decision. We changed the time, and she said, "Well, I can't do that."
Oh, I see.
So then you let them bow out gracefully.
It's kind of very strategic how you execute it.
Yeah, it's like dating.
That's cool. Very much like dating, a lot of similarity. So you've got a lot of different personalities on your show, right? I mean, you've got head coaches, journalists, reporters, athletic directors, and they have a lot of different personalities. How do you factor those personality differences in your preparation for each guest?
Well, you always prepare, but I try to, and I'm sure the people over at the communication school don't want to hear this, but I try not to over-prepare. You can never be over-prepared for an interview. You never want to be in an interview when you're running out of things to say, but you also have to leave flexibility. I have a unique interviewing style where I know where I want to go, but I'm more interested in what the person is saying because that could dictate what the next question is as opposed to, okay, question 4 is this. Too many interviewers, I think, get caught up in that.
I definitely, I tried to implement that myself too. I mean, it just happened on our last question. I've had a list of about 10 questions I want to ask you. I found out we have a quick interview slot today, so I had to condense that down. And then in our last question, I heard things I liked. So I want to know more about it,
You can prepare for 6 months for an interview, but you better be listening to the first answer. Because I learned that as a newspaper reporter where you're trying to interview people without showing emotion. Somebody just said something dramatically important, and you don't want them to know that, hey, there it is. So you want people. I think the key to any good interview is always to get the person to want to keep talking.
Yes. Yes. What's your approach to that about loosening your guests up?
Well, you want them to be comfortable, but I'm opposed to spending too much time with them before the interview for this reason. They may say something really funny, and then when you interview them on camera, for instance, or behind a microphone, they may think, well, I've already told you that. The great talk show hosts never want to talk to a comedian before they come on, because comedians love to say, hey, have you heard this one? And you don't want the guy to say, well, as I told you earlier, you just like go, no. So you basically just walk in, and then you want the person to be extemporaneous.
That's good to know. I never thought about that before. Like if you sit down and listen to somebody for a while, you kind of just like drain the content. That's interesting.
I mean, I interviewed a football player once who was part of one of the most famous plays in NFL history, and I got to the big play because I'd interviewed him before, and he said, I've told you this before. You don't want that to.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah, you want the audience to hear it, think they're hearing it for the first time.
Interesting stuff. I never thought about it like that before. So this one kind of pertains to the matchup we're looking at this weekend. So you've got a situation like Auburn right now. They fired Brian Harsin halfway through the season. We got head coaching vacancy. As a sports media personality, how do you approach that situation when it comes to your show?
Well, you talk about it, but in the Harsin case, it had been talked about so much that the firing was almost a relief. There was nothing more to say. And then fans love nothing more than to speculate. Who's the next coach? Whether it's who the next coach is at Auburn, who the next coach will be at Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin takes it. You could have a conversation every day in Tuscaloosa. Who do you think is going to replace Nick Saban? When? Everyone has an opinion. So those are great questions that have really no answer. But fans almost enjoy the speculation more than they do the games because everybody thinks they know something.
Oh yeah, when you get into those conversations with people, like they try to use every piece of maybe intel that they have. It's almost like unwrapping a mystery, and there's an interesting element to that.
Yeah, no, it is a mystery, and that's why mysteries are so good, because you don't know how they're going to end. And everyone also knows someone who heard something, who thinks they know something. So, my job is just to listen to all the conversations and not try to act like I know too much, because sometimes I do, and most of the time I don't, and just let it happen.
So when there's, and especially now we got like phones and that sort of thing, so falsified information, so that's become really prevalent. How do you sift through that?
You do have to be careful, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. You just have to be particularly cognizant of going, okay, it doesn't matter that somebody tweeted it. It doesn't matter that somebody put it on a blog. It doesn't matter that somebody said it on a radio show. Is it true? And be careful. And I always talk to young people about misinformation. No matter what, everybody is trying to be a comedian on Twitter or whatever social media outlet. Don't be so funny, because whatever you say, it's going to come back to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, stuff gets, especially if it's interesting intel, like stuff's going to get retweeted and retweeted, and then if it's false, then you end up looking, stupid, to put it lightly, stupid. You lose all your credibility. I mean, I saw the one last week about Lane Kiffin. There's somebody literally put a report out that he's going to be Auburn's next head coach, and then he pinned it. And he's like, no, this isn't happening. So, it happens every day. It's something you got to keep your eye out for. It's a new element of the media world, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So yesterday, Thanksgiving Day, there was a commercial that came on my TV on CBS. I was watching the Lions game, and it was eerie. Being a 2000s child, I didn't like it at all. It was the Big Ten on CBS, and there was something about that just did not sit well with me. And now SEC is going to be covered by ESPN. How's your role going to change once that's implemented?
Well, I don't think what we'll do changes very much, other than we will have every game on ESPN and the SEC. Right now, we have every game but one. The only game that ESPN or the SEC network doesn't have is this 2:30 CBS game. Unfortunately, that's usually the best game of the week. That contract will go into effect probably in 2 years, and then the Big Ten games will be all over the place. They'll be on Fox and countless other networks. So, we're already, I work for ESPN, but my show is on the SEC network, so it was hard to be more in on the SEC. The biggest change on top of that is going to be Texas and Oklahoma coming in. So
Yeah.
you're suddenly emerging two completely different fan bases. So yeah, the next couple of years are going to be really dramatic.
How have you been preparing yourself for the introduction of the Longhorns and the Sooners? Are you starting to research
Well,
that
yeah,
more
I
every
mean,
day?
once that happened, I mean, we started getting a lot of calls and viewers and listeners from Texas and Oklahoma. So you're always cognizant of that. You talk about them, but they're still in the Big 12, so you can't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, right now they're still in the Big 12. Let me tell you, that's going to be one change that's really going to help your show out, because those are, especially Texas, those are massive fan bases. That's going to work wonders for you guys. So I'm really excited that moving forward, and congratulations on you guys being able to like the SEC in general being able to land those two teams. I'm excited for the future of our conference. It's, you know, college football is only getting better, and I'm happy that you and I are along on the ride for it together.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Paul, for joining me today. Excellent interview.
My pleasure.
And enjoy that game tomorrow. Roll Tide. Have a great day.